words of wisdom for June 21st. Ecclesiastes 1:10. Is there anything new? Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. Ecclesiastes 1:11. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. Ecclesiastes 3:12. I know there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. Now, when it's talking about there's no good in them, it's talking about days. So I know that there's no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. So Ecclesiastes really, it hones in and simplifies Proverbs a little bit. It tells you, getting straight to the point, rejoice, do good. Ecclesiastes 3:13. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. So you being able to actually enjoy your labor is the gift of God. So some people don't realize the importance of having God in your life. And I try to tell people the Bible is a success manual. It's not for when you're reading it. Okay, I'm reading this text so I can be spiritual, because even though it does have you be spiritual, you just realize that you actually are a spiritual being. We've been living so often not spiritually, or not trying to live spiritually, that we don't discern that we actually are spiritual beings. So there's that inclination in men sometimes that actually lusteth toward the flesh. That's the best way to say it, almost in scriptural type terms. But there's something in man that doesn't find spirituality appealing, and that is actually the flesh. That's a trickery of your mind, a deception in your mind. That's the flesh, or carnality. So that's when a man is living beneath his potential and living materialistically. And so there's things in us sometimes that tell us within that, and it's within that rebellious type nature, but there's things within us that tell us, okay, let me not be spiritual, be a goody-goody, or all this other stuff. But there are people who are spiritual that would be quote-unquote savages. David being one of them. But there's a whole bunch of people, actually, to be honest, when you look at them, and that's what I'm saying, spirituality is just living at the maximum level. So if you're talking about this person as a savage, these people are beastly. And not beastly as animalistic, but as I mentioned before, how Ecclesiastes cuts to the chase, that's the graduation of spirituality. So what happens is you develop spirituality, you actually get more and more fine-tuned and focused. If you're not out there, some people they get into weirdness and they think it's spirituality, but that's actually not spirituality. Spirituality is when you become more focused and more determined, and your wisdom causes you to give off a different glow. So that's what I'm saying. There's just higher levels that we can live on, higher planes that we can live on. So one way that if you look at the scriptures in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, lots of times it talks about income and money. And Proverbs, it talks about how money is the estimation of a man's life. It's that you can look at money that in graduated terms of your financial development. So in that same sense, that where you can look at your spiritual development, you can look, not that it parallels your financial development, because there's some people who gain from doing things that are not, they're the antithesis of living spiritual. So, of truly living, they're actually profiting from evil, which is live backwards. So, they're living the wrong way, and seemingly they profit. But Scripture also says this is vanity, because if you know the truth, you shouldn't be pulled into a lie when you know the truth. So that's a heart check. Is avarice going to make you duplicate or try to replicate what you see someone else doing just because it seems to be profitable when you know what the truth is? You should strive to try to live the truth and realize that money is not the end all be all. So that's why I said it doesn't parallel spirituality. It's not the end all be all. But it's the gift of God to enjoy from your labor. So that's why it's important to have God in your life. We can actually enjoy our life, because what life do we have where you don't have some amount of labor? So to actually enjoy that labor is the gift of God. So to seek God and be able to do that. All right, so Ecclesiastes 3:15, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God requireth that which is past. So the importance of going to God is because we're actually acquiring that which is past. That is what God requireth. So what that means is we have to understand God. We have to build a relationship with God and come into understanding in that relationship, to understand the ways of God and to be able to somehow figure out what is divine intent. And so you can live in divine intent, because when it says what is past, that's what God has orchestrated. That's what God's intent was. So through our relationship with God, we find all that. Blessings. Join the club. Subscribe.